welcome back, or welcome to the Library Mouse. I can't believe that it is the end of July already. I don't even know how that happened. And okay, I give up. He's not going to let me film unless he's in the video, so I'm not even going to try to get rid of that. I really thought I was doing well. I had read a lot. I thought at the beginning of the month, and then I kind of slacked off. Let me fix this light. And then I had kind of slacked off. I don't know if I'm going to make my 5-book goal. And I think the issue was I started to read too many books at the end at the same time, and I didn't finish any. But let's go on. I'm going to share with you what I've read in July, maybe what I might finish in July, and then talk a little bit about my plans for August. So let me start with I don't know if I'm going to finish this book, and it is Mrs. Grant and Madame Jule. So I have to return this book to the library, and I'm not done with it. So I'm like halfway through it. I really wanted to love this book. I really wanted to enjoy it. It looked like it was going to be a great book. It had good reviews. My issue with this book is that, so the premise is this book talks about the wife of Ulysses S. Grant. Her name was Julia, and she had a slave named Jule. And obviously, Ulysses S. Grant was the leader in the Civil War for the Union Army, very much against slavery. She had a slave, and technically her slave belonged to her father, so she couldn't give her freedom, but she was one of the people who thought that the slaves should be happy because they have a roof over their head and they have food given to them, and she has a warm bed to sleep in. And because she was with Julia, she had never faced any mistreatment. So that's the premise of Julia and Jule, her slave. I thought it would delve a lot more into their relationship. There was a lot of description of what Ulysses S. Grant was doing. Like, he's fighting this battle. Now they're over here. Now they're doing this. And I don't like war books. And I don't like them because I don't want to read about a battle. I don't want to hear how many people were killed. I don't want the details about the battle. I really just wanted to know about the relationship. And it was it was kind of the focus. It really wasn't the focus. I mean, I think it attempted to be the focus, but there were so much other details about Ulysses S. Grant that it took away from the story. So, and I'm like halfway through this book, and I don't want to give this away as a spoiler, although it's historical fiction, so if you don't want to know what happens, just go ahead. But anyway, her slave runs away and takes off. So I don't know what the rest of the half of the book is, because she's not going to have a relationship with her slave, because when Jule ran away, and I do my background reading, nobody knew where she went. So half the book is about Madame Jule and Mrs. Grant, and then I don't know what the other half is going to be. So that's my take on this book, and possibly why I do not finish it. Okay, so the next book, also by Elizabeth Berg, so I guess this is like the Elizabeth Berg month, is Earth's the Right Place for Love. Now, Elizabeth Berg is one of my favorite authors. I probably would not have picked this book up because the title just, I don't know, it sounds kind of cheesy. And the picture on the front is, okay. Not something that I am drawn to. However, I'm doing the 52 book challenge and I needed a book that had an apostrophe in the title. And it was very hard to find a book with an apostrophe in the title. So I found this and I took it out and I'm very glad I did. The main character is this teenage boy named Arthur Moses. He stars in some other books of hers, most notably Arthur Truelove. This kid is just the nicest kid. Like, just the nicest guy. And he really has a love for this girl named Nola, who is very popular. She doesn't know he exists at first. She is interested in his older brother. But eventually he becomes very good friends with her. And it's just a very sweet love story. There is an event that happens that I wasn't prepared for, and it was sad, but it was well handled, and yeah, it was just overall just a very sweet story with this main character. You just like him so much, and you're rooting for him, and you want him to get the girl. So if you just love a nice, sweet, old-fashioned story, this is a really good book. I think I gave this one, let me see. I gave this one 5 stars. It was good. Now, on a totally different kind of book, we have Kristin Hannah, The Four Winds. This book was really, really good. Whereas this was a very sweet and charming book, this book is like extremely well written. The characters are so well developed. I could not stop reading it. I just kept, like, I couldn't put it down. So it follows this main character. Let me double check her name. I thought it was Elsa. Her name is Elsa. She grew up very much unloved in her home. She wasn't very attractive. Her parents made fun of her. Her siblings didn't like her. She just always felt unloved. Till this one guy pays attention to her, and that kind of changes her life. She winds up marrying him, and they become farmers. And they're having a wonderful life until the Dust Bowl hits. And they're losing money, and they have no food, and they can't grow crops. And it's about what happens with her and so many other farmers affected by the Dust Bowl when they decided to head to California, thinking they were going to have a better life in California. But they get there and they realize, okay, it's not going to be any better. It's just going to be different. Like, it's a different kind of bad. Yes, you can work, but you're picking crops for pennies, and pretty much the farmers, the people who, you know, you're working for, if you're renting from them, they're taking your wages for rent. So when they realized this, you know, she just had such a harsh life. And she is another character that I loved. There are times when I wanted her to just stop and be brave. And she does at the end. She finally feels confident enough to do that. But this was an excellent book. I just highly recommend The Four Winds. I think it's my favorite Kristin Hannah book that I have read so far. So the last book that I have read so far in July is Bookshop by the Bay by Pamela Kelley. Cute story. It's a cute It's a cute beach read. It's about a newly divorced, middle-aged woman. Well, more than middle-aged. I don't know. Her daughter's 30. She's in her 50s. So, yeah, middle-aged. Named Jess. She's a lawyer. She lives in Charleston. And when her marriage falls apart, she decides that she's going to go home. And she's going to go home and visit her best friend and kind of take some time to regroup. And she's bringing her 30-year-old daughter with her because she also needs to get away and kind of figure out what her life is going to be. And they go home and meet up with Jess's best friend who's never left their town. And she decides to buy a bookshop. And it's by the bay. And basically it's a great story of best friends, of mother-daughter relationships, about risking things to make your dreams come true and not being afraid. It was a cute book. I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. I kept reading it. I mean, that's basically what I look for in a 4-star book. Like, I didn't stop reading it. I kept going. I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was fun. I didn't put it down and go, wow, that is a book I'm going to remember. Because I kind of had to think about it because I had read it. It was one of my first July reads. But it definitely is a really nice, feel-good story. And yeah, it was good. So right now I'm trying to get through the Mrs. Grant and Madame Jule book, but I'm also reading The Blue Zones, and I think it's by Dan Buettner. I'm reading that on my Kindle, and it basically, if you've ever seen the Blue Zones documentary on Netflix about people who live to be over 100, and the pockets of them scattered around the world. He went and did some research and talked to these centenarians, and they tried to figure out what they all have in common. It's interesting. The Netflix documentary was interesting, and the book is really interesting. And if I don't finish it this month, next month I will definitely share what their findings were. But then for August, I've been thinking about August. And I want to kind of do categories of books instead of particular books. One category I know I want to read is I want to try once a month to read a book that I remembered loving as a child. Chapter book, not a picture book, a chapter book. There was a book that I really wanted, and I don't know if they'll have it at the library, but it's Little Plum by Rumor Garden, and I remember loving that book. But that's going to be one category, is a chapter book from childhood that I love. I just want to reread. I also want to do one nonfiction book a month. On any topic, just pick a nonfiction book to finish. I also want to read one classic next month. I don't know what, but I want it to be a classic I haven't read. So I'm not going to go back and reread Little Women for the millionth time. I want it to be something different. Same way with my childhood book. I'm not going to read Little House on the Prairie again. I want to pick a more obscure, I guess, chapter book that I loved as a kid, and share that. So a classic, a childhood favorite, and a nonfiction. I need to think of another category. But when I do, I'll let you know. So that's what I'm thinking of for August. Once I get the books lined up, I will do my August TBR. So thanks for watching this little short, this is what I read in July. And I will see you soon. Happy reading. Hopefully you didn't click off yet because I forgot a book. If you were counting, you're like, what are you doing? That was not enough books. Okay, I did read another book. It is The Confession Club by Elizabeth Berg. And this book basically centers on a group of women who originally met to have a monthly supper club. And it turns into the Confession Club, where every month one person kind of takes the stage and shares something they're ashamed of, they're guilty of, something they need help with, and the other women rally around this person. And it's such a good book. It's such a strong statement to the power of like women's friendships. I liked it. I gave it a 4. I didn't give it a 5 just because there were so many characters and I was trying to, you know, learn about each one. I just felt like I wish I could have gone in depth more, like with just a couple characters, but I understand the premise of why if you have a confession club, you really want to hear from all the characters. But yeah, it was a very good book. One of the reasons I picked this is because on my library summer reading challenge, you're supposed to read a book with a character who is over the age of 40. And most of the characters in this book are over the age of 40. It would probably, I think, make a cute movie. Kind of like book club. You know, just one of those older women get together. I like those kind of movies. So maybe because I am one now, I don't know. But it is a good book. So on that note, now I'm officially ending this video. And I will come back soon, share with you what I am definitely reading for August. And I have quite a few tags to do. So until that time, happy reading.